Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Booster Podcast. If you're on a journey to improve your English and sound more natural, you've come to the right place. I'm Alex, and we're here to make learning fun, practical, and effective.
And I'm Emma. Today we're diving into a game-changing topic, how to start thinking in English. If you've ever felt stuck translating words in your head before speaking, this episode is for you.
Exactly. Many English learners struggle with fluency because they rely too much on their native language. But imagine effortlessly forming sentences in English without hesitation or mental translation. Sounds amazing, right?
Absolutely. And the best part? It's completely possible, with the right techniques. Today, we'll be sharing real-life practical strategies to help you train your brain to think in English naturally.
So, stick with us. By the end of this episode, you'll have actionable steps to start thinking in English. And trust me, it's going to transform the way you learn and speak.
All right, Alex, let's kick things off with a big question. Why is it so important to start thinking in English?
That's a fantastic question, Emma. You see, when you train your brain to think in English, you're unlocking a whole new level of fluency. Many learners get stuck because they're constantly translating from their native language. This creates hesitation, slows down their speech, and sometimes even leads to unnatural sentence structures.
Right. It's like having a delay in your brain. Imagine you're at a coffee shop and you want to order a cappuccino. If you're thinking in your native language first, your brain goes through this whole process. Okay, how do I say this in English? Oh, right. I want a cappuccino. And by the time you're ready to speak, the barista is already looking at you waiting.
Exactly. But now, imagine if you've trained yourself to think directly in English. Instead of translating, your brain just knows, "Can I get a cappuccino, please?" Boom! No delay, no awkward pause, just natural conversation. Absolutely. And here's the best part. When you think in English, you're not just improving your fluency. You're also building your English identity. What I mean by that is, you stop seeing English as just a foreign language and start embracing it as a part of who you are. It becomes second nature.
That's such a great point, Alex. When you think in English, you also start understanding English better. You begin to grasp phrases, idioms, and even humor more naturally because you're processing the language like a native speaker would.
Exactly. Plus, let's not forget the confidence boost. When you don't have to second-guess every word, you automatically feel more comfortable speaking in English. And confidence is key.
Couldn't agree more. So, if you've ever felt nervous about speaking English, the first step is training your mind to think in English, because when your thoughts flow smoothly, your words will too.
And don't worry, we're going to show you exactly how to do that in this episode. So, let's get into the practical steps.
Step 1. Label your surroundings. All right, now that we know why thinking in English is so important, let's dive into the first practical step. And trust me, this is one of the simplest yet most effective tricks. Label your surroundings.
Yes! Right now, wherever you are, take a moment and look around. What do you see? A laptop? A coffee mug? A notebook? Instead of thinking of these objects in your native language, start naming them in English, in your head or even out loud.
And don't just stop at single words, take it a step further. Form simple sentences in English. Instead of just thinking notebook, say, my notebook is on the table. Instead of phone, say, my phone is next to my laptop. This forces your brain to create complete thoughts in English.
Exactly. And here's a little trick to make this even more effective. Imagine you're explaining what you see to someone who doesn't know English. Let's say you're in a room. Instead of just thinking chair, try, there's a brown chair near the window. Or, the chair looks comfortable. See how that helps you think in English in a more natural way?
Oh, I love that idea. It's like you're narrating your own life in English. The more you do this, the more automatic it becomes. And the best part? You don't need a teacher, a class, or even a speaking partner, just your surroundings and your own thoughts.
Right! And for an extra challenge, try doing this while walking outside. When you see people, describe them in your head. That woman is wearing a red jacket. The sky is cloudy today. There's a dog running in the park. It's an easy and fun way to train your brain to think in English all day long.
That's such a great habit. So, if you're listening to this podcast right now, take a moment, pause for 10 seconds, and describe 3 things around you in English. Ready? Go.
All right. That was your first step towards thinking in English. Now, let's move on to another powerful technique. All right, here's a really fun and powerful trick to start thinking in English. Talk to yourself in English.
But silently, of course, unless you want people to think you have imaginary friends.
Exactly. But in all seriousness, this method is super effective. The idea is simple. Describe what you're doing in real time, in English, inside your head. For example, if you're making breakfast, think, okay, I'm pouring the milk into my coffee. Now, I'm spreading butter on my toast. It's like you're narrating your own life.
Oh, I love that. It's like being the main character of your own English audiobook. And the best part? You can do this anywhere, while walking, cooking, cleaning, or even getting dressed.
Exactly! And here's something really important. Don't stop just because you don't know a word. This is where a lot of learners get stuck. Instead of panicking, use simple English to explain what you mean. For example, let's say you don't know the word screwdriver. Instead of stopping, you can think, I need that tool to fix this screw. The goal is to keep thinking in English, even if you don't know the exact words.
That's such a great strategy. Native speakers do this all the time too. Instead of searching for the perfect word, they just describe things naturally. So don't worry if your sentence isn't perfect. Just keep going.
Yes! And here's another fun way to practice this. Before you go to bed, recap your day in English. Think about what you did from morning to night. I woke up at 7 a.m. I had coffee and checked my emails. Then, I went to work. This habit trains your brain to think in English effortlessly.
Oh, that's such a good one. It's like giving yourself a mini English lesson every day without even realizing it.
So, if you're listening right now, try it. Pick something you're doing at this moment and describe it in your head in English. Make this a habit, and soon, you'll start thinking in English without effort.
All right, ready for the next powerful technique? Let's go. All right, here's a simple but incredibly powerful trick. Change your phone's language to English.
Yes! Think about it. How many times do you check your phone each day? Probably dozens, if not hundreds. And if everything, your settings, notifications, apps, is in English, you'll be reading and processing English without even trying.
Exactly. And it's not just about your phone. Surround yourself with English in everything. Your laptop, your tablet, even your social media accounts. Follow English-speaking pages, join international groups, and set your YouTube and Netflix recommendations to English content.
Oh, and speaking of Netflix, here's a game-changing habit. Start watching your favorite English TV shows or YouTube videos without subtitles. It might feel difficult at first, but your brain will start picking up words and phrases naturally over time.
That's such a great point. And if watching without subtitles feels too hard, here's a step-by-step approach. First, watch with English subtitles. Then, watch again without them. Finally, just listen and try to understand the meaning from context.
Yes, your brain is a pattern-recognizing machine. The more you see and hear English daily, the faster it becomes second nature. It's like training your ears and eyes to think in English automatically.
So, if you're listening right now, go to your phone settings and change your language to English. It might feel strange at first, but trust me, within a few days, you won't even notice. and you'll be thinking in English without effort.
All right, ready for the next step? Let's go! All right, here's my absolute favorite technique. Imagine conversations. All right, here's my absolute favorite technique. Imagine conversations.
Oh, I love this one. It's such a powerful way to train your brain to think in English. The idea is simple. Picture yourself in a real-life situation and practice what you'd say in English.
Yes. Let's say you're traveling. Imagine you're at the airport and need to ask for help. Instead of just thinking in your native language, start creating an English dialogue in your mind. For example, you could think, "Excuse me, where is the baggage claim?" Or, "How do I get to the taxi stand?" This way, when you actually face the situation in real life, you already know what to say.
That's such a great strategy, and you can use it for any daily situation. Ordering food at a restaurant, making small talk with a coworker, or even introducing yourself to someone new. Think about what the other person might say, and then mentally prepare your responses in English.
Right. Let's take another example. Imagine you're at a coffee shop. Think, what will I say to the barista? How will they respond? You might create a mental conversation like this. You, "Hi, can I get a cappuccino, please?" Barista, "Sure. Would you like it with regular or oat milk?" You, "I'll take oat milk, please. Thanks." Now, when you actually order coffee, it will feel effortless because you've already had the conversation in your head.
And don't just stop at common situations, be creative. Imagine debates, job interviews, or even storytelling. The more you practice thinking in English in different scenarios, the more confident and fluent you'll become.
So, here's a quick challenge for everyone listening. Pick one situation from your daily life and mentally practice an English conversation for it. Trust me, this one habit can make a huge difference in your fluency.
All right, we've covered some amazing techniques so far, and now we're down to the final tip, using a timer to train your brain to think in English. This one is simple, but don't underestimate how powerful it is.
Yes, think of it like going to the gym, but instead of training your body, you're training your brain to think in English. And just like you wouldn't expect to lift heavy weights on your first day at the gym, you also can't expect to think in English effortlessly right away. You need to build that mental muscle step by step.
Exactly. So here's how this works. Grab your phone, open the timer, and set it for 1 minute. Now, for that 1 minute, challenge yourself to think only in English. No translating, no switching back to your native language. Just 1 solid minute of pure English thinking.
And to make it easier, you can focus on one specific topic. Let's say you choose My Morning Routine. Your 1-minute thought process could go like this. I woke up at 7 a.m. today. I was still feeling sleepy, so I stayed in bed for 5 more minutes. Then I got up, brushed my teeth, and made a cup of coffee. While drinking my coffee, I checked my phone to see if I had any messages. After that, I took a shower and got dressed for the day. See how simple and natural that feels? You're just narrating your day in English.
That's a great example. And the best part is you don't need anyone else to practice this. You can do it anywhere, while walking, while sitting in a cafe, even while waiting for a bus. It's just you and your thoughts, making English a natural part of your thinking process.
Exactly. And if you ever feel stuck, don't panic. The goal isn't to be perfect. It's to keep going, no matter what. If you don't know a word, just describe it in simpler English. For example, if you can't remember the word screwdriver, think, I need that tool to fix the screw. If you don't remember ceiling fan, say, the thing on the ceiling that moves air. This way, you're still thinking in English without relying on translations.
Oh, I love that trick. And here's another fun way to push yourself. Once you're comfortable with 1 minute of English thinking, gradually increase the time. Go to 2 minutes, then 5, then 10. Soon you'll realize you've spent an entire hour thinking only in English. And that's when you know you're making real progress.
Yes, the key is consistency. If you do this for just 1 minute every day, your brain will start adapting. You'll notice that English words come to your mind faster, your sentences flow more smoothly, and you won't feel the need to translate anymore.
So, let's do a quick challenge. If you're listening to this right now, pause the podcast, set a 1-minute timer, and start thinking in English. Describe what's happening around you, what you're doing, or even what you're planning for the rest of the day. Ready? Go.
All right, how did that feel? If it was a little difficult, that's okay. Keep practicing, and soon it'll feel as natural as thinking in your native language. Thanks for listening and keep practicing. Your English fluency is just around the corner.
We'll see you in the next episode of English Podcast Mastery.